Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm just having a look to see why is this not working. Um, Sorry, I'm having a bit of a technical issue. Just bear me a second. There we go. Hope the sound is all right and everyone is ready. Just setting up final things. Make sure everything works and is current. And so today, as per title of the stream today, we're going to be covering yet another UK case. I mean, I'm trying to, while there is not a trial really ongoing that I'm interested in covering, I've been going through some UK cases. Good morning, Toxic. Welcome in. I hope you're doing okay. It's nice to see you be here. I don't know words. What are those? Uh, so just been covering a bit of a UK cases until we get a case that I really want to follow. That I've been following, and it starts back up again next week. The Quinton Nixon trial. Until then, we're gonna just have a look at some cases, UK cases. So today we're going to be covering the Fiona Beal case. Is a case actually from where I used to live down south of England in the area of Northampton, Northamptonshire, if you want to call it. And it's a case of a primary teacher that unalived her partner, her boyfriend. They were not married. I think they were in the process of getting married, but they were just partners living together. And she is accused of unaliving. So it happened between October 30th and November 10th of 2021. So she is accused of unaliving him, and but then she I don't think the family found out straight away because she was pretending for a while of being him because she had access to his phone, to his bank account, and everything. And she carried on spending his money, sending messages to his family, like pretending that he was alive. Even at one point, he was saying in the article that. Um, she sent a message to his mother saying that he had a really good Christmas and then he went to see his soccer team, Manchester United at Old Trafford live, and he was looking forward for the new year. So she literally created a web of lies all around his life, the life, and everything. Like she was pretending that he was still alive. One then the family started to get suspicious of where was he, why he was not coming around anymore, why he was not being around the family anymore, why did he not come for Christmas, why the New Year's Eve they were not going to go. So um so the family started to ask you questions, wanting search. They called the police, and it was found out that he was buried in their back garden. I mean, the picture that you see on the thumbnail, the one that has the green tarp above, it is where his body was found. He was found buried in the back garden of the house. So it's absolutely crazy. I'm trying to get something up and it is not working. Oh, there we go. I was just trying to get the article up that I've been following. I mean, the article does show more pictures of the basement where the back garden leads to where he was found. He has pictures of the mattress that was on top of where the body was found. It is actually very, it's not gruesome pictures because they don't show the pictures of the body or anything like that. It's just shows shows that. And then throughout the trial they went throughout all the evidence that was against her. She did finally, she did plead guilty in the end because I think she noticed that there was too many um evidence against her. She ended up pleading guilty, and so the trial that was about 2 days long. So it wasn't that long of a trial to for the family and everything to have to go through. But obviously she blamed all this on her mental health because it was deteriorating because of all the drugs that she was doing it. She, even though she was a primary teacher, she said that she was using basically on the daily, which it is a bit weird to me. How can you be a primary teacher and still consume drugs daily, like even after school or anything? I'm sure they still kind of either last to the next day, or you show um not show symptoms in a way, but show that you still have some like hangover or something. But it's just wild. This case is just crazy. And so she was sentenced on the other day in May, in May about this. And again, like I've been saying, the UK has been a little bit more open about um, showing sentencing judgments against the defendants. We only see the judge. We don't see anything much, sadly, at the moment. But I do know there is more work on about this, that they are trying to get more information. I even myself, as a member of the public, was able to find out more information about a case that I want to follow about it. So it's kind of started to opening up, but again, in this case, it was said as well that she, um, Fiona, the defendant in this case, she lured the her partner. I did not catch his name. Um, because oh yeah, the Nick. His name is Nick. So we have Fiona. She's 50 now, and then we have Nick. I don't. His birthday was not released. Um, so she unalived him, and she lured him to, well, the bedroom or the basement. I don't know why they would, on the pretense of having relations to with him. And that's where she then tied him up to the bed with some cable ties that she had. And then that's where she, well, sorry to say, did what she did, in a way. um Exactly, as like you would know that, you, especially in the school, um you would know, you would figure it out if someone was using, especially in the school. You are looking after little kids and everything. So it's all right. Good morning, Paula. We only did like a little bit of a case debrief. I mean, I'm trying to be a little bit quicker because the sentencing remarks are quite long. Not long in terms of time. It's about half an hour, so it's longer than we are used to. So I'm trying like to, because I'm sure, and I know the judge is still as well going to go through the facts of the case on this. Um, and then it's gonna go. But like I was saying, the court heard that she lured him to the lethal attack that she did. Again, the pictures, I can show the pictures if you would like to see on the of there's in the article that's been following. She also blamed in a way that's saying that she had a second personality, because it was found a journal that she says that, but she detailed her alter ego personality that she used to call the Tulip 22. And then all the jury heard this in the trial. And because this was also a retrial, I don't know why. I did not catch on the article and on the several articles that I've looked into and the interviews that were on the TV. They did not explain why it was a retrial and how it came about. But they literally had to retry the case for some reason. And then it was when she changed her plea from not guilty to guilty, and then she just got sentenced and came out again. This in the UK only since last year they've started to release sentencings and more information about about the cases. Up until now, we don't know much. It's just now there's being a bit more open to the public and to, people that are interested in true crime. Um, sh- I don't. It doesn't say, like. I mean, I can show the pictures. We can probably see on the pictures, but let me put this on the screen and get the pictures out and share my screen really quickly so we can go through. There, that one. There we go. Let me just That's all right. Don't worry, Toxic. It's fine. I think we all understood. So, oh, I am in a wrong screen. Never mind. So, okay, this one is the picture of the journal that she had. I could not read any of that of that it says, but it's just a bit of an extract from it. This says started to believe something. I just so this one that has the mattress one. So that was where in the cellar of the home that they had, the basement that we call. So they found the body there, buried underneath the side return of the terrace house that they had. Terrace house, yeah. So then that one is the burial where it was found buried under. And then this was the cable ties that she used to tie him up to the bed because she lured him to um to the bed as a pretended to have relations, and then that's where she attacked him in the bed. Now with what, don't know, it doesn't say. um so she literally had to cover the body because when they found the body, so that's the entrance to the where the burial site was on the side of the house, because see how houses are so close, because that is literally the where the fence is the division between one house to the other one. So the person next door literally can almost hear anything that you do. Why they did not hear? Probably not, because it was during the day, I guess. Yeah, that could be it. So, and it's just interesting that how she carried on her life like nothing was happening, and she carry on pretending that he was alive to his family, that the everything was normal, like nothing has happened, there's nothing here to see, and she pretended to carry on texting the family like it was pretending. But then the family finally, because it's not very uncommon, like sons not to give that news, but when the style of the text message that was saying, and the way she was trying to pretend that it was him, that's what alerted the family, and then that's how the family went to the police and literally reported him first missing because they did not know that he was dead. They reported him missing, and then it just came about that after a search to the house that they shared, that she unalived him. So yeah, it is a bit. The remarks of the judge. The judge did not hold back. Um, in the true UK fashion, obviously, it was not very expressive. It's the UK; they are not very expressive. But yeah, so I was gonna say we're probably gonna see the sentencing now. So maybe afterwards we can still have a bit of time to comment and give talk about a bit about the sentencing.
Fiona
Let me just know if the sound is okay afterwards when he starts speaking.
Beal, you may remain seated for the moment. On the 26th of April 2024, you pleaded guilty to the murder of Nicholas Billingham, and I must now sentence you. Your guilty plea came a few days into what was a second trial. A first trial had started in 2023. It had run for a number of weeks, but had to be stopped for good reason, and the case moved away from the Crown Court at Northampton to be tried here at the Old Bailey. In the earlier trial, the issues for the jury concerned two partial defences to murder: diminished responsibility and loss of control. A fresh look at existing material and the service of additional material then took place. As a result, there was a change in the opinions of two experts you previously relied on, and the defence of diminished responsibility was no longer available to you in this second trial. The potential defence of loss of control significantly weakened. At the outset of the trial at this court, you pleaded guilty to manslaughter by reason of loss of control. You have now pleaded guilty to murder, and there is a written base of plea. Whether the defence of loss of control would have been left to the jury at the end of all the evidence is not something that ultimately had to be resolved. but in my judgment, it was by no means certain that it would be. The background to the offence. In October 2021, you were living with Nicholas Billingham in Moore Street, Northampton. The two of you had been in a relationship for some 17 years. On Monday, the 1st of November 2021, Nick left home and went to work pretty much as normal. From text messages he sent and received, it is clear he spent that day working on a property he was helping to renovate. By the evening, his phone was using a cell site that provides coverage at the home address. From a journal you kept, it is clear that by the time he returned home from work that day, you had resolved to kill him. It was not until the 19th of March 2022, some 4 months after you had killed him, that Nick's body was discovered and excavated from the burial site you made in the garden of the house in Moore Street. In the handwritten journal found in March 2022, you wrote, and I quote, "My last words to him when he asked why was that he was not going to do to X what he had done to me." Close quotes. In the journal, this comes after these words, open quotes, "I have to confess." Okay, here goes. October 2021. He spat on me and threatened me during sex. I knew then that X had been telling the truth. I thought about leaving, but the things he said fueled my dark side. I call her Tulip 22. She's reckless, fearless, and efficient, ruthless. I started plotting as Tulip 22 after he'd gone to bed. I could no longer sleep in the bed due to my breathing being so loud, or I moved too much, or I was snoring, or etc., etc. I would go downstairs after sex, and even when I was unwell. I got used to sleeping downstairs, waited for him to go to bed, and then got high and let Tulip 22 out. I knew I couldn't let him get away with it. Halloween sealed it. He was vile. I sat on the kitchen floor and wept as I witnessed the abuse I allowed to happen. I allowed so much bad to happen. That night I planned. COVID rules meant I had a guaranteed 10-day isolation period from positive symptoms. I called Claire on the Monday and said we'd tested positive and had symptoms. He went to work. Tulip 22 smoked and planned. I'd planned it mentally so many times before. The knife cut my dressing gown pocket. Monday, November 1st. I had smoked all day. I had a bath. I left the water in. He'd been pushing for sex. I encouraged the bath with the incentive of sex afterwards. While he was in the bath, I kept the knife in my dressing gown pocket and then hid it in the drawer next to the bed. I brought a chisel, bin bag, and cable ties up too. I got him to wear an eye mask. It was harder than I thought it would be. Hiding his body was bad. Moving a body is much more difficult than it looks on TV. I started to believe the cover story. Flashes interrupted. Close quotes. Having done what you did, you pretended to the outside world that Nick had left you and was having an affair. You lied to his mother, family, and close friends, to your own family and to those you worked with about what you had done. Those lies continued for months. A detailed schedule of events spanning the period from the 27th of October 2021 through to March 2022 shows your planning, how you acted to fulfill that plan, and it sets out the details of the deception you engaged in after the killing. In her victim impact statement, Nick's mother, Yvonne Valentine, speaks of her loss. Nick was aged 42 at the date of his death. Nick was, in her words, and I quote, "my beautiful little boy with a cheeky smile." Nick was so loved by his family, his friends and work colleagues. My mother, Nick's grandmother, had to endure the news that you had killed her firstborn grandchild just weeks before her own death. And I witnessed the impact of this news on her as I watched my mother's health decline and die with a broken heart, all caused by you. I sometimes forget that Nick has gone, but then remember you killed him. I think he's going to call or send me a message, but he never will again because you killed him. I sometimes forget that I will never see Nick again, But then I remember that you have taken him away from everyone, and we will never see him again because you killed him. The loss and emptiness I feel is unimaginable and so very unreal. It is hard to put words to my feelings. That you are a coward. You killed Nick in his home, on his bed, and have never done the decent thing and told us exactly what you did. You are evil. You killed Nick and then spun a web of cruel lies and deceit. You lied and deceived me. You spread rumor and deceit to his friends and work colleagues, all the while knowing that it would get back to us. You even lied to your own family. Your whole intention in feeding these lies and deceit was to protect yourself. All you cared about was your own self-preservation and doing anything in your power to show Nick in a bad light. I've had to listen to evidence from professionals as to what they believe you did, how you planned everything and your actions in the minutes after you killed Nick. You showed no regret in your actions and instead went online using Nick's money to purchase cleaning, replacement items to cover up that you had killed him. You brought everything you used to bury him with his own money, which I find diabolical and disgusting. You wrote, "I'm not a total monster. I know what I did." Now everyone has heard exactly what you did, and they will see you for the evil, total monster you are. I have no physical items, personal possessions, or keepsakes of Nick's. You destroyed them in an incinerator in the garden, or disposed them somewhere else to try and erase all trace of Nick. You were under the misguided assumption that Nick would not be missed, and even had the audacity to write your thoughts. I only had to send a couple of texts as him. No one was particularly bothered, and I don't think anyone would have looked for him. You could not have been more wrong. I love my son more than I can express. Your actions in killing Nick have caused immense sorrow and grief for all his family and friends. Nick has 2 beautiful children who have no choice as to whether they see or talk to their father again. They will never have the choice to invite him to any special events, be at their weddings, teach them to drive, or just spend time with them. You have taken all of that away from them. You have taken my future with Nick away. I will never be able to know he's okay, that he is safe and happy. You planned his killing and made sure he could not defend himself. You've taken away a future with his younger sister. She will never again be able to speak with her older brother or have any future with him. There are also moving statements from Holly Shaw, Nick's half-sister, and Andrea Farden, mother of Nick's son. Nick's son was just over 2 years old at the date of his father's death. Andrea accepts that Nick was not perfect and speaks of the loss in particular to her very young son of not being able to grow up with the father as the years pass. She ends her statement with the observation that one day she will have to explain to her son what happened to his father. One can quite understand how difficult that will be for her and for him. Turning to the sentencing provisions, the sentence for murder is fixed by law. It must be imprisonment for life. The issue for me is to decide on the minimum term you must serve before your case is first considered by the parole board. You now accept through your plea that not only did you kill Nick Billingham, but you intended to do so. There is a wealth of evidence demonstrating your plans to kill him, taking elaborate steps to hide his body, and then having done so, going to great lengths seeking to make sure that what you had done would not be easily uncovered. Before the discovery of Nick's body on the 19th of March, you had been admitted to the Royal Lancaster Infirmary on the 15th of March. Due to concerns about your mental well-being at that time, you were sectioned under the Mental Health Act. In considering Schedule 21 of the Sentencing Act 2020, whilst there is some material to suggest that this case falls into paragraph 4 of that schedule, as you took a knife to the scene intending to commit an offence or to have it available to use as a weapon, some of the authorities I've been referred to suggest a case such as this does not come within that paragraph. And so the course I propose to adopt is to find that this is a case within paragraph 5 with a start point of 15 years. Having come to that view, as many of the authorities make clear, the taking of a knife from one part of the building to another to have it available for use as a weapon cannot be minimized. Each case requires a consideration of all the facts and then the aggravating and mitigating factors present in the particular case in coming to a view on the appropriate minimum term for the case. I next need to take into account any aggravating or mitigating factors to the extent that they're not allowed for in making that choice of start point. In making any such assessment, I need to guard against any double counting. In terms of aggravating factor, there was here a significant degree of planning or premeditation. I have already referred to the contents of the journal you wrote, but in addition, there is using the cover of a supposed COVID infection to give you space and time to carry out the deed, the use of a knife, cable ties and chisel, taking them upstairs where you had lured Nick. Second, there is the mental and physical suffering inflicted on the victim before death. When the post-mortem took place, Nick's body was in an advancing state of decomposition. The pathologist states that the cause of death was a single stab wound to the right-hand side of the neck, transecting the right jugular vein and incising the esophagus and trachea. It would have required moderate force, but severe force cannot be excluded. The wound was 6 centimeters deep, the entry width 3.7 centimeters. The pathologist also states that the neck wound would not be expected to be immediately incapacitating. And this ties in with the entry in your journal as to him asking why when you were in the process of carrying out your planned attack. There is also the concealment of the body after death. The circumstances of that concealment and the period of time over which it took place are very significant. Having moved and buried the body in the garden, you then lied to his mother, numerous friends, all his family and yours as to what you had done and where he was. From the schedule of events, it is clear you make numerous purchases on the internet from the 2nd of November onwards for cleaning materials, bedding items, other domestic products, as well as an incinerator and gardening gloves. These internet orders are interspersed with texts sent to many others, including the head of the school where you taught, all pretending as if nothing had happened, giving false information about your symptoms and the impact on you of COVID. This pattern of false texts and actions continues throughout November and December 2021. There is the 10-day period when you claim to have COVID and so were not at work, and using that to make sure that the body could be in a homemade tomb in the garden, keeping everyone away from the home address for what are now obvious reasons. But the deceit goes on well after that 10-day period, and you are then peddling the story of Nick having left you for someone else and the two of you having split up. There are a number of trips to B&Q to acquire the materials that you used, some acquired using his bank card or account to make the burial of the body complete. There are texts to those who Nick worked for, his friends, the use of accounts in his name to acquire other items, including domestic bedding and a vibrator, as well as fabricated messages from his phone to yours to support the narrative that you were giving to others, including X. I note in particular the events on the 23rd of December 2021, when Nick's mother visited you at the address in Moore Street, and what is said about that visit by Nick's mother. The events then and the conversation can only be described as a truly callous act by you, dressed up as a casual chat and a drink before Christmas. There was lie after lie as to what you claimed was Nick's moving away from you, why, and his life with another woman. On the 30th of December 2021, you sent a message purporting to be Nick to his mother. Again, that can only be described as a callous act, leading Nick's mother on further, yet all the time knowing what you had done. There are goodwill messages sent to Nick's phone by his friends and family, where you respond as Nick, again giving the impression that all was fine with him. On the 6th of February 2022, Nick's mother sends a message to her son asking if he was all right. That message is also met with a reply sent by you, all good, X. That reply comes in the evening of the 11th of February, a day when you purchased an A5 lined notebook. Such a notebook is used by you later to make your journal and set out your confession. That reply you sent that day was the last use of Nick's phone for an outward message. An Apple Note with that same date has these words, and I quote, "I'm beginning this book to you on Saturday the 12th of February 2022. It's been 3 months and 12 days. I'm not a total monster. I know what I did." Close quotes. The pattern of messages, whilst reduced in number, continues through February into March. And due to concerns raised by those at your school, the police make a visit to Boran's Lodge in Cumbria, where you were then staying, that led in due course to your being detained. You disposed of all Nick's personal property so that nothing remains for his mother or stepsister or any form of keepsake or memento. Having done that, you then further conceal what you have done by the works carried out to the house. Finally, on aggravating factors, there is the lack of any remorse then for what you had done. You purchased many discretionary items for the home and yourself over that protracted period, and continued to use Nick's phone to access pornography on numerous occasions. You used cannabis extensively in this period, often purchased for you by X. Turning to the mitigating factors listed in the schedule, you clearly intended to kill, and so there can be no reduction for an intention to cause serious bodily harm rather than to kill. You are aged 50 and of previous good character. At the time of the murder, you were working as a Year 6 teacher at Eastfield Academy. 2 of your fellow teachers gave evidence before your plea brought the trial before me to an early end. It is clear from what they said and from what I've read in other statements that you were highly regarded as a teacher. I note there are no convictions recorded against you. In relation to the timing of your plea, I note what is set out by the Sentencing Council as to the appropriate level of reduction to be given. For murder, the reduction cannot exceed 1/6 and must not exceed 5 years. Whilst I accept you did not dispute in the trial before me, nor in the earlier trial that you were responsible for killing Nick, it was only last month that you admitted murdering him. In my judgment, taking into account some of the points argued on your behalf, whilst initially the position of only a limited reduction of about 5% to the minimum term might be appropriate, I need to factor in the early acceptance of being responsible for death, and so credit closer to 10% will be applied here. Turning to mitigation, I need to give consideration to what is said on your behalf about the nature of the relationship between you and Nick, as well as what I will term the family dynamics. There is a detailed written basis of plea. In that document, you referred to depression. It is clearly something you have suffered from throughout your adult life. There are a number of reports about the state of your mind at the time of the killing, and whilst they do not amount to anything that reduces murder to manslaughter, they are reports that I must take into account in determining the appropriate sentence. The basis of plea refers to the belittling nature of the relationship between you and Nick, and the impact on you of a number of affairs he had whilst in the relationship with you. In one of those relationships, he had another child. As I have already commented, that child too will miss their father through your actions. The basis of plea sets out that despite the affairs, the 2 of you were back together from early 2019, and that you moved to Moore Street address in February 2020. It is said that things were okay at first, but when COVID struck, and you say Nick was furloughed in June 2020, things at home became more difficult. There were arguments, issues around sex, and about how you were dealt with by Nick. I note it is also said that you only became aware of the true extent of his gambling issues in the first trial, and that there were also financial pressures on you. It is submitted that the coercive and controlling nature of the relationship between you and Nick, and the consequent impact on your mental health, should weigh in the assessment of the appropriate minimum term. I agree with the submissions on your behalf that some allowance must be made for some of what is set out, But it is important that I note the picture you paint of unhappiness in the relationship is not one universally accepted by all those who saw you and Nick together. In addition to the written submissions on sentence on your behalf from Mr. Wheeler, KC, and Mr. Bishop, it is submitted that the court should have regard to paragraph 10C and D of Schedule 21 in terms of mitigating factors, namely the fact that you suffered from, in the words of the schedule, any mental disorder or mental disability which lowered your degree of culpability, and the fact that you were provoked, for example, by prolonged stress, in a way not amounting to a defence of provocation. Again, I agree that some allowance should be made for these factors. As mentioned, I've seen and read all of the reports about you, the various symptoms that have been identified, and the impact on your mental health and functioning. I have also seen and read and will give regard to the Sentencing Council guidelines on sentencing those with mental disorders. I should also mark that some of what you have said about amnesia, traumatic or dissociative amnesia, has been challenged in some of the reports, and I note in particular the content of the reports of Dr. Frank Farnham, where he makes clear it is a rare phenomenon, and that by contrast, malingering, a person telling instrumental lies for a defined reason, for example, to promote a false defence, is a well-documented phenomenon. Mr. Wheeler, on your behalf, submits that the amnesia as the facts of the offending is genuine on your part. The most recent of the experts to have assessed you, Dr. Tim Green, I've seen his reports and read the details of what he says about this aspect of the case. As I made clear in the course of the submissions on your behalf, one needs to be careful so as not to cherry pick from one report rather than another, and there has to be some balance to the overall impact. On the issue of provocation, Mr. Wheeler set out a number of instances that he submits support this mitigating factor being of significance in the sentencing exercise. He also referred the court to various parts of the base of plea. Whilst I agree, as stated above, some allowance needs to be given to this feature of the case, the question is to balance the factors, particularly where the picture before the court is or may not be a complete one because of the nature of what you say and the inability for the court to test those by any account from Nick. I've read a number of letters Nick wrote whilst the two of you were undergoing some counselling. In some of those, he clearly accepts his failings towards you. On personal mitigation, Mr. Wheeler points to your age and the likelihood of risk going forward. In the sentencing note, he's highlighted observations from a number of others who speak to your many good qualities, some extracts from what they said in the first or second trial and in their witness statements were read by him. He also refers to the events in Cumbria and the serious attempt made by you to end your life in the light of what you had done. I have no doubt what you now accept you did to Nick has been a shock to all those who thought they knew you. Would you stand, please? In my judgment, taking an initial start point of 15 years for the minimum term, the aggravating factors I have identified lead to a very significant upward adjustment to, or very close to, a minimum term of 25 years. Making allowance for the mitigating factors I have identified, that brings the minimum term down to 20 years, before then making the adjustment for your plea that I've identified, a minimum term of 20 years duration. I do not wish there to be any misunderstanding as the sentence passed. As with the passing of any life sentence, it is that, a life sentence, in your case, life imprisonment. In determining the minimum term, the court is not saying that you will be released at that date. The sentence is one of life imprisonment. The minimum term is the term you must serve before the parole board can consider your case and consider whether you are someone where it is safe for you then to be released on license or not. The earliest that can happen is in 20 years, less the 801 days that you've been on remand. On my calculations, 17 years and 294 days. If the information which I have been provided with as to the number of days on remand proves to be inaccurate, then the prosecution or defence must notify the court so the case can be relisted to correct the calculation as soon as possible, and in any event within 56 days. A person sentenced to life who is released remains on licence for the rest of their natural life. If the statutory surcharge applies in this case, the appropriate order may be drawn up. You may go down.
All right, so that was interesting. I'm really starting to like watching also UK court stuff and how they use the different words and different methods. What I don't know what it means is go down. Where does they go down to? Is the jail in the basement or something? I don't know. I don't understand what it means with that. And also, another thing that I think it's different because obviously, if you are, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments on the chat, that here, so you are sentenced to life, right? And then if you can get parole after a certain amount of years, like this woman, after 20 years, she can go on parole. But she's on parole for the rest of her life. So in is that the same thing in US, or you have a certain amount of years? Because I mean, Gypsy, for example, she got, I don't know how many years she got in to start off, but she did 10 years, and now she had like a year or something of parole, and then she's in a way free. So if a person in the US is convicted to life in prison with the possibility of parole, if comes up into to parole and he gets released, he gets granted, and it goes, do they carry on parole for the rest of their life, or do they have a certain amount of time? I need to research that because it's actually quite interesting. I don't know because I've only started now covering cases, either American or English. But it's actually interesting to know a bit the difference between the two countries and how it works and everything, and how they word everything. I'm trying in the comments to explain a couple bits, like for example, some words that he said and the store name that he said, like B&Q. B&Q, it's a DIY store like Lowe's. I think that was my comparison. So trying to explain a little bit. Also, he was on about we have a habit in in the UK that it's after doing a text, we send, well, if we have a personal relationship with the person, this is, if you have a personal relationship with the person, or we have the informal setting, is at the end of the sentence we put an X as like a kiss thing to the other person. So that was at one point where the judge was referring to that Nick was sending message to his mom and put an X at the end. So that is a very common thing. But he was also referring X as to blank out the name of the person that was the ex of Nick, the ex girlfriend or wife, and also X that was the person that was selling the drugs to Fiona, because when she was getting high or getting things. So there was that couple bits. If you got confused, just a bit of an explanation there. If you, well, if you wanted, but it's just a little bit quirky that happened. It was actually quite interesting how he explained and the detail that he went to. I'm really loving it covering cases in UK. I just hope they are a little bit more open soon in terms of watching the whole thing, but probably it would be a bit hard for you guys over in America because of the time difference. But we'll see, because there is another case that is happening in my where I live now. Is like literally what happened 2 streets away from where I live, and it's about to go to court next month. It's about to go in trial next month, and I want to try to see if I can go. I don't like, I know it is open to the public, but obviously not recording. But I mean, I can watch it there and then make a bit of a debrief of what happened here. Maybe I'm gonna think about that and see how I can go, because obviously I do work quite early in the morning, but then I can go after and see, because I really wanted to have that experience of a UK court since I'm over here, and I do want to go to the American and see the American side and compare. I mean, there's no better, and bring like to you guys maybe a bit that of showing how it is, um, the cases and everything. I don't know what you guys think. Do you think that's a good idea? Not such a good idea. This case that I'm looking forward to. It's not that bad of a case. It is a bit sad. It was because the guy is accused of unaliving another through his dog. So he had an XL. Uh, what was the name of the dog? Me and the name of dogs. Bear with me a second. Name. Let me Google it. Uh, there we go. An XL dog, bully dog. That's it. XL bully death attack. That was what it was. So he had well, a dog that yeah. So he, I'm gonna just read out of the article. So Christopher Bell, he's 45, and then it says the address. I'm probably not gonna say that because it's literally where I live. Was charged with being in charge of a dangerously out of control animal, causing injuring and resulting in death. So he pled not guilty. He did not enter a plea during a hearing that was just happened on the 18th of this month, and the trial is set to be where I live, uh, on the 18th of November. So it's literally less than a month away. So sadly, the dog was involved in the sin was unalived, sadly, by the police to be able to stop the attack because yes, his dog. It is. I really want to cover this case, but I do need to do a bit more more research about this. So and since then, since February this year, 24, it has been actually a criminal offence in UK for people to own an XL bully in England and Wales without exemption certificate, and and when they are in public, they have to be muzzled and they have to be neutered as well, and they have to really controlled. Here in the UK, you even have to, it's legal for you to have any insurance on your dogs and cats and animals, so you literally have to have all the documentations. You can go to prison, to jail, because your dogs are not compliant with the law. So they are very tight on that over here. I'm sure in the American is, but I'm not that informed about American laws with animals. So but this is actually I remember when this happened because I just had moved here to this area because this happened last year, and I was still we me and my husband, when we got married, we moved to this area, and I remember this happening, and I remember seeing all the police and everything out in the street because I do go to work rather early. um Polly, nice, awesome. Um, so I remember seeing all the police and everything out. Like I said, it's literally two streets away from where I live. So when I go to work, I have to go through that road. There is no other way that I can go to work if not. So I remember all seeing all the police cars and ambulances and everything happening there, and this was about 4:30 in the morning when I saw the police. I don't know if it did happen at around that time, but yeah, so it's absolutely crazy. I remember seeing that on my way to work at that early in the morning, but it's a case that I really want to really uh yeah, awesome. That's good. So please don't share where it is, because I mean, you can see it is relative closely to me. It's literally down the road for me. That's two streets. I can be there where everything happened. I mean, there is still marks on the floor, and there is I think flowers still there, like a memorial type thing on the site where everything happened. I mean, I'm gonna try to see one of these days I can pop down and just take a picture of it, and um show you guys how no stalking of Katya. No, 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 it's all right. No, it's okay. I mean, you can find the area where I live. No, you don't have exactly my address, but it's okay. I mean, you can send me presents if you want to. No, I'm joking. Uh, so this is another case, but it's still in a procedures. I'm trying to find more information, but the I called the court to try to get more information about this case, but without the date of birth of the person of the defendant, they can't really give you much information to make sure that they give you the correct information about a case. I know his age. I can calculate the year, but I need a specific date and everything. So I need to do some investigation to see if I can find that, or if I can find it, because I did find that you can see the court dockets of the counties around the UK, which is awesome. So probably either that, I'm gonna have to check daily the court dockets to make to see when it goes up next to a hearing, and I will try to go and have a look at that because I'm really interested. I want to cover it. I'm not going to be able to cover it live because in the UK we don't have that. We don't have live coverage of the trials. We do have the sentencings that are posted, follow the sentencings. It's not even given live. It's posted after. But I can try to go in person and kind of talk about like they doing on the Richard Allen case. So probably can do that until they actually start streaming cases, because there is some buzz and some news saying that there's the possibility of the UK start streaming certain cases. Obviously, in the beginning, it's not going to be all of them, but there's gonna be some of them, and I am really excited for that because I really want to do it. To show like the UK side, I've been really having fun showing this little bit of debrief of cases. There is appeal cases we can watch, but those are long, and the one there is a very big one that's going on in here is about Lucy Letby. I don't know if you guys have heard. She is accused of unaliving babies. That for me, that case, it's a little bit too sad to cover. It is very interesting the appeal that she literally just had. I mean, I can cover it, but it's it's babies. I don't I It's a horrible situation. It's completely heartbreaking. Um so I don't know if I really want to cover that one. Like, it's like I know probably it would give like the views and everything, but I think I prefer my sanity and everybody else's sanities than covering a trial or an appeal just because of it, just because of views. I don't think I'm gonna do it because it's it is too heartbreaking. It's too sad to talk about. Um, and I don't want to start crying, so let's move on. So I don't think I'm not going to cover that one. What I know is I've been looking is for, guys who remember, it's in Virginia, the girl that hid the body of the parents for 4 years at home. Her sentencing was done the other day. She got sentenced because she pleaded guilty. She did not contest or anything. There is the possibility of that as well coming out pretty soon on the this is a YouTube channel that I've been following, that the of this guy that has all this sentencings, and there's a possibility of that video also coming out very soon, of her sentencing. And that one I really want to see it. That one I am gonna be stalking, and I'm gonna be keeping my eye out because I really want to see the remarks of the judge about that case, because she did get sentenced. I don't want to spoil it, but I mean, if you look at the news, you will get spoiled no matter what. So yeah, so she got sentenced, and yeah, I really want to cover that one again. I was just gonna say, I noticed that RA is about to go live, so probably this is gonna be it. I hope you guys enjoyed. I mean, we're gonna have two verdicts just before we go. We're gonna have two verdicts today. We're gonna have hopefully two verdicts. The verdict for Melody Ferris, and there's another trial. Adam Coy, the police officer that is being accused of forcefully abusing his powers, basically. So that one is possibly coming out for today. So keep an eye on the channel here or on TikTok for videos on those as well coming up. Um, tomorrow I am not going to stream because I'm going to be at work until probably 12 o'clock my time, which is 9 a.m. your time, 8 a.m. 8 a.m. your time. So probably not going to stream, but keep an eye out that on Saturday 9 a.m. Eastern, the video with the interview of Jules, with the notorious Jules, is going to come out. I'm very, very excited about that one. Been a lot of work into it and very appreciative of Jules even doing it with me. So just keep an eye out. Make sure you like and subscribe and do all those YouTube fun things. Thank you very much for being here, and let's go and watch the verdict today. Have a good day and thank you for joining me. Bye bye.